Hello everyone, welcome to the first video in a three-part series for an introduction to isometric sketching. I'm going to be using the iPad to do this. If you have a printed version of this, you can go ahead and use that, but there's drawing 4 and drawing 5 in this series. So that's video 2 here and video 3 will be on here. I'm going to use the iPad to sketch this out. Like I said before, there's a couple of things to do first. I've got the PDF open up here, document that's available on Teams. So last time we were looking at the rules of isometrics, keeping any line that would be horizontal at 30 degrees, either going in this direction or 30 degrees going in that direction. And the further apart your fingers are on this ruler when you're rotating it, the easier it is to zoom in to get an accurate measurement there. Like I said in my last video as well, I'm going to be using green for my construction lines, and then when I come to detail I'll do them in a different colour, maybe blue or red, and outlines will be black, and I'll change the pen settings in here to make it a thicker line and more opaque, less transparent. So I'm just going to jump in here, first things first, and put in some boxes, make a big box that'll house this whole thing. So I'm going to draw these lines quite large, over large, and you'll see up on the orthographic views on the plan and front elevation, I've already put in the sizes ahead of time. That just saves you watching me going and measuring and counting out twice, once to measure it and once to put it out here. So the overall, we'll take this box here, this size is 5, and then going from this point to this point is 20, and then this point to this point is 20, then another 5 at the top. So that gives us 50 altogether, 50 millimeters. So I'll just line that up there, and I'll count along 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. Going in the opposite direction, or from front to back, if you want to think of it that way. We've got the front corner here, and we need to mark on where the back is. So on the front elevation, we've got the front and the back, and I measured that ahead of time, and that size is 46. So I'm going to mark on 10, 20, 30, 40, 6 is just about there. Next thing is I'll just put on an overall height line for this whole thing, and that is 36 millimeters, 10, 20, 30, 6, gives me just about there. And now, since I've got the ruler this way, I'm going to just go ahead and draw these lines up, rotate it around to 30 degrees, and the really good thing about doing isometric sketching is if you get used to holding your ruler at the angle, you really only need to measure once, and trust the ruler and trust yourself that you know the angle right, and it really makes this a bit more efficient instead of having to measure on every single line. So I'll weave that back there as well. Great, so that gives us an outside box. Effectively what I've done is I've taken a box and just drawn it around the whole thing so that I can work backwards from the front edge and get the centre point. First thing I need to do that though is find where the centre point lies on the front edge. So I'm going to line up a ruler there, measure 25 up because the whole thing's 50, flip my ruler around to 30 degrees in the opposite direction and draw that line back. Now that's radius 20, so I can go ahead, line up one of the long lines with that and come back 20 millimeters, flip around to 30 degrees in the opposite direction and just sketch that wee bit in. Now I did miss a line before when I was doing my creating, that I'll put in now, just from this bottom corner here, going back the way, and that way we have what looks like where we can sketch out our isometric circle. I did mention in a previous video that it's easier to do all your sketching on the top and then bring those sizes down. So to do that, first of all, I'm just going to take each of these points up and then measure up those lines and draw what you could think of as another work plane on the top. I need to measure up those lines 18, lining that up and coming up to about 18 gives me there. Measure once, and then I can use my ruler at the right angles to take these sizes right across. There's 18 there as well. If I measure this out, you can see right here my work's quite inaccurate, so that means that size might not be 18, but I'm not fussed about your accuracy at the moment. because I know drawing on an iPad with your finger isn't the most accurate thing. Draw that line back as well. So there we've got like 2 rectangle shapes at the top. Here's one here, and the other rectangle shape is there. Now, if that's going to be a circle, then these need to be square shapes. And you'll notice I've missed something out here. I've missed this wee mark here that's 5mm in from the edge. It's probably too heavy on the ink. I've missed out on the edge just here, the 5mm, and the 5mm here as well. So I'm going to go ahead and draw them in just now. And I think now's a good time to flip over to a different colour so as not to confuse everything else. So measuring up here from that edge, 5mm gives me a mark there, and 5 in from the other side is a mark there. Now, if I bring these lines down at the 30 degrees, you see that the shape looks a bit more like a square. And I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and go over these with a different colour so you can get a clearer idea of what lines I'm actually drawing and where they are. So inside this box here, and this box, we need to divide that up by joining the corners, starting from the centre line. So in previous worked examples of this, I went through the old clock facing where you have a line at 30 degrees and then a line at 60 degrees like this, and that should give you enough segments. I'm going to scrap all that today and just draw a line at 45 degrees down from there. You don't need to draw this line, I'm just trying to highlight some of the theory for you. So if we treat this as the centre point, that is this point over here that I've drawn in, and if we take it from that centre line, the centre point there, we can try and line up. If you're finding that your ruler wants to snap on to the 0 size, if you get it somewhere close, then you can move it in. That's 89 now, it's not even snapping onto 90. So let me draw that line just there. I think it should be near vertical, 88 degrees. I'll just draw that line up. Now the next step we need to do is plot points on this line. So if we take this line here, that looks like a horizontal line, and if we divide it in half, and then roughly the distance between here and here, if we half that again, that gives us another mark. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of those arrows to try and clear this picture up a bit, but half it and then half it again, going towards the corner. Same thing here, half it and half it again. These 2 outside points give us an accurate location for drawing in our isometric curve like that. A wee bit shaky handed, it's a lot smoother to draw it out and away from yourself. So that there is the isometric curve constructed. I'm going to just draw all these points down, about 18mm, and measure these points on it. 18's there, 18 gives us here. Oh, I've already got that point. 18 gives us here. I've actually not made that line long enough, and 18 on this line gives us there. In fact, the 18 on that line gives us there. So now I can flick that right round and draw in the bottom curve of our isometric circle. I'm not too fussed about outlining this yet because we're going to go over it in a bold line later. So the next thing we need to do, if we're considering that corner Y here is down here, then we can see that in the opposite corner is where this is going to be the highest. So you can see corner Y there, right in the opposite corner is going to be the highest point. In this drawing, that's about there. Undo some of this. So we're going to use this as a starting point and measure down the distance we need to come. So overall, the one size I didn't put in is the length from here, from that black line to that black line. So I just need to measure that quick now. That is 10, 20, 36. So rotate the ruler round, measure down 36. I'll maybe change this to a different colour as well. How about a nice purple? 10, 20, 36. Gives us a point right there. And if we draw this coming in 30 degrees in the opposite direction, like that, then we can measure 10 down here. It's 10, and that gives us the point that we need. So what we've just sketched in there is this point right here. And we can use that, use the old start and stop technique. We know where the line starts, we know where it stops. So we can line up our ruler with that, hopefully if it doesn't snap, and draw that line up. And we're just about ready to outline now because we know the starting point and the stopping point of each line. So let me just take this up and outline it in purple so you can see, and I'll do the rest of the outlining in time lapse. Something else I've missed here is bringing this edge right across. Now there isn't actually an edge there. Well, there is an edge there. I missed bringing that edge across, and that would join up to this point. So wherever the lines cross over, that's your intersection point, and that there gives us a good view, a good construction of how this looks. I'm going to go ahead and do this in time lapse now. I'll see you after I've outlined it. Okay, there we have a very rough and ready sketch of what this object looks like. Okay everyone, hope that was helpful. Look out for video 2 and 3 in this series coming soon, and happy sketching.